which is now gone to the back of the garage. He's got the spotlights on it, and they are having to look at the chassis. So the suspension failed on it. It's cracked into the chassis, and it is going to go back out. But Dan Dennis said to me, it is the car they're hoping to race next weekend, so it's going to have to go back to the factory and have a proper check before next weekend.
Yeah, the Ginetta factory is going to be a busy place on Monday, isn't it? Because we lost the Roll Centre G55 as well. Thank you, Chris, because that car is again due to race here next weekend in the British GTs. Then we've got the Dan Dennis Sierra Vittoria car, which is a front runner in the GT4 Championship. So Lawrence Tomlinson and his team will be busy bunnies on Monday, although Lawrence himself has unfortunately, I fear, been forced into an early night because we still haven't seen that Roll Centre racing car returning to the fray. We've got the team manager of car 66 who has been asked to head over to race control, and that is the Dorset Porsche. So Dorset Sport Porsche, car 66 that has been asked to go to race control. That car currently in 8th position, as we'll go through a full run down the field in just over 10 minutes time when we reach the 11-hour mark in the race. The battle that is still very nice is the one for 4th position, because it's currently the number 49 Aston Martin Nicholas Mee racing car, which is 10.7 seconds clear of the Marcos Racing Lotus Evora, which is closing on it at about 7 seconds a lap. And then in 6th place we've got the Top Cats Racing Marcos, the leading Class 2 runner, and that is also closing in on the Nicholas Mee racing Aston Martin, although losing a little bit of ground as well to the 57 car.
Going through traffic, I went one side, a Porsche went another and hit me on the near side rear wheel. The problem with that is it knocks the wheel speed sensor, which then can trip out the ABS, which it then did, but you get no warning in the car. So literally the first I felt it, hit the brakes, it was like pressing this wall. There's no pedal feel whatsoever. And because this is at the ASM shift, so the paddle shift, effectively you can't change down, so you get no engine braking either, so you just sat there as a passenger going, all I can see is a wall getting closer and closer. Going, but yeah, we're getting there. The boys are working very hard, so thank those guys.
At 3 AM, that's what you call a hurry moment.
Just a bit really, yeah, it woke me up again. There's the adrenaline pumping, I suppose, Nick, but yeah, no, it's all good.
Other than that, how's the car going? Is it running
yeah,
well?
it's been okay really. We had some problems at the start, certainly, because again, we had an issue with the dash, so we lost 20 minutes right at the start of the race. We got pushed off the grid. Got back up to 60, and then coming through again, and then this is just dropped us back a bit. But yeah, well, it's a long race yet. We're not even halfway through yet, so we've still got a long way.
Just been chatting to John Boys in the MJ6 car. It's hard to believe we're not even halfway through this race.
I know, it's true. A long way to go. I know John well because he's my boss as well, because I work for him at Aston Martin Racing too, and obviously John the MD. So at least I'm racing a Ferrari, at Aston, he's racing a Ferrari. At least I'm being loyal to the brand. I'm going to say that on camera. But no, it's all good. It's all good.
He even mentioned the fact that you just won the Billy Le Mans, so
yeah, yeah, very much so. I saw that on the tapes before. So yeah, no, so we've got to get this one back out there, try and get a top 20 finish at the end, so go from there. We'll be happy to.
Well, Preston, I'm glad you're all right. And see you a bit later.
Cheers. Thank you very much, guys. Cheers.
Possibly some of the other cars around it. It's had more pit stops than a good number of the cars in Class 3, with 11 pit stops, although some of those were pit stops that we had in the very early stages of the race. Didn't really set them back too much.
Did we, Ben, have a change of driver from Jamie Orton to David Upton in the number 27 Top Cats Marcos? Because I think we had Orton in it, then when the car came in for a pit stop, and we didn't actually report on whether that had changed. On the driver sequence it should go to David Upton, and the car isn't going as quickly now as it was doing before the pit stop, because remember before the pit stop it was in 4th place, but holding that place well. I thought Chris Hartley, if he doesn't know, he'll find out, but I think it's probably David Upton rather than Jamie Orton.
Yeah, I'd probably go with that back-car just slightly away from the pace. Chris?
Yeah, I'm almost certain I saw David getting ready not long before that car came in, so he's stood prepared to go, and that does make sense.
So yes, that car is actually now in fact slipping back from the Nicholas Mee Aston Martin. So slightly disappointing way that the race has gone for the Marcos in the past probably 2 hours or so. having been in such a long time podium position, now down into 6th position, actually dropping away in that 6th place, although they have got 2 laps advantage over the Intersports car in 7th, so no concerns for them there, but still fair amount of work to do. Into the pit lane has come the other Scuderia Vittoria car, that's the Porsche, number 64, and that's in from 20th position. That car had just jumped up into 20th and now is likely to slip, maybe not likely to slip back down in fact, because in 21st place we've got the 77 car of the Coxes, and then 22nd is the 83 CTR development car, which has plummeted down the order. I just wonder if that has actually been one of those cars that's gone missing out the circuit, prompting a safety car, because it's been slipping off the leaderboard without really adding an increased number of laps to its name. So that car now into 22nd position. We've got a stop and go and 10-second penalty for the Dorset Sport Porsche in 8th place. So they are going to have to serve a penalty, but it's going to have no bearing on their overall position because they've got 3 laps advantage over the Aquila in 9th, and in turn they're 5 laps down on the Intersports car, so there's not going to be any change in position immediately resulting from that stop-go penalty. All it's going to do, though, it's for speeding in the pit lane, by the way, all it's going to do is bring the Aquila just slightly closer onto its tail as Bob Berridge gets up to speed and posts a very credible time for 2 minutes 9.626, and so Berridge, the wheel of the number 6 car, will be probably setting himself a target on this stint of overhauling the 66 Porsche, because at the moment he's lapping out 25 seconds lap more rapidly than the Porsche, so it won't take him too long to get onto terms with and onto the same lap as the 66 car before then going through, gaining a place and moving up into 8th position. Or at least that is the plan. So we're still actually fairly low on the confirmed retirements from this race. We know that we're not going to see any more the number 28 TVR. We have not seen for a very, very long time the Roll Centre Racing Ginetta G55 or indeed the Mac G Racing Ultimate. We have heard, though, a few moments ago in the pit lane from Chris Hartley with John Thorne, and so John Thorne adamant that that car, having done just the 7 laps in the race thus far, is going to be back out on track sometime between now and the checkered flag. The Peter Fairbairn number 58 car that we had confirmed as retirement and then an unretirement, I think unfortunately is now probably a very definite retirement. The same going as well for number 51, which is the Optimum Racing Ginetta G50, is into the pit lane now. We have got the Intersports Racing car, we have got the, which is 68, we've got the 66 car in as well, and the second place number 3 Top Cats Racing Mosler peeling into the pit lane too. Now, having lost track with all the Top Cats cars, that feels like it's probably a genuine pit stop just off the back of a reasonably short stint in terms of laps completed, because the safety car.
I'm not so sure actually. No, maybe you're right. No, it's 30. This is lap stop 14 for it, isn't it? Yeah. So no, it's a 30 lap stint. So it kind of works for it. This is the number 3 car, isn't it, in second place at 25. Yeah, it's just the way that time rushes ahead of you.
Has the length of their stints shortened at all? Because as Chris was saying ages ago, it feels like now, that of course they were struggling with the fuel economy and fuel pickup of that car when the tanks got low. I just wondered if there'd been a slottle
on the number 3. It was number 4 that
it's been both of them,
was it?
Well, there's just been a slight drop off in the stint length.
No, they did 43 at 31 on previous occasions. So no, they've been up thereabouts. Although having said that, no, this last stint is a shorter one. Let me just correct that. So yeah, that might be a little one for Chris to investigate on the number 3 stop that's just come in, because it does seem to have been a little bit shorter. There's no safety car, so no reason for that one to have come in just yet.
So they are into the pits, and also in as well is Keith Robinson. So Keith Robinson pits in from 3rd position in the number 1 car. So again, Keith, are we going to see him just being topped up and sent back out, or is it going to be time to hand over? He's probably got another hour's driving in him at least, I'd venture, for Keith Robinson. So the 2nd and 3rd place cars in the race overall are both in the pit lane. Hopefully they'll both emerge fairly shortly and won't have suffered any trouble in the pits. And all of this is giving Phil Keane in the lead of the race the opportunity to further extend his advantage.
Which had come down anyway because of the earlier pit stop, so it's kind of back to how it was. Sorry, Chris, go on.
Yeah, here with Julian Draper, fresh out of the car. Julian, they're just taking the engine cover off to have a look. Any problems?
I was getting smoke into the cockpit, rubber smoke, so I was trying to double check there was nothing more than just pickup.
So it's a bit shorter than you planned, but not much shorter.
No, I think we pulled in when we should have done anyway on fuel, so all good.
So it's going well for you so far. Is that your 1st or 2nd stint now in the car?
3rd
stint?
Yeah. I was driving through the night, so doing about an hour and 10 minutes each, and then out and in.
How's the car out there? We spoke to a couple of the other guys, and they're saying when you get these safety car periods, it's now taking a lot longer for the tyres to get back up to temperature.
Exactly that. It's taking a good few laps before they actually come in, so obviously temperatures have dropped. Just got to be aware of it.
It's a lose-lose, isn't it? Because in the daytime earlier on, it was so hot out there in the cockpit.
Yeah. But the car's flying though, to be honest, with the cooler temperatures. It's good for the car anyway, so not too bad.
So what will your plan be now? Will you be able to get any rest at all?
Yeah, I'm going to try and get some kit, get an hour's sleep if I can, and then back out again.
It'll be hard with the old adrenaline pumping though, hasn't it?
Yeah, you basically can't see, just lie there with the eyes closed, imagining what's going on the circuit as you hear the noises of cars, so. But it's all rest anyway.
Just try and chill out. All right, Julian, thanks for your time.
Cheers.
Thanks very much there, Julian Draper. So just a precautionary check, as it's probably the right thing to do, pretty much on cue, as he was saying, for the end of his stint anyway.
And who's jumped in that car, Chris, now?
Okay, hang on. I got to ask that, didn't I? It's not Benji Ellington. Let's just find out from the guys. Who's just gone out? Sorry? Who's just gone out in the number 3?
The guy wearing his name? Yeah.
Come back to you. Mechanics don't know the names of the drivers. Give me a minute.
Thanks, Chris. Yes, so that the team spirit there in Top Cats Racing doesn't extend actually to knowing their driver names or the name of the driver out in the car at any given time. But good to hear there from Julian Draper, who is in for a very busy night's work. Would suspect, by process of elimination, it's probably Henry Fletcher who's gone out. On the basis that Andrew Bowman's always been a bit doubtful.
You are
Chris.
good, Ben. You are very good. It is Henry.
That's only based that you saw that Freddie was there in the garage. You'd just spoken to Julian Draper. Andrew Bowman we haven't seen. And therefore, by deduction, it was going to be Henry Fletcher.
Yeah, but this time of night, though, that's still good, I reckon.
I don't know about that.
By the way, if you want some home comforts, the best garage to go in is Vantage Racing Garage. They've got a couple of quite comfy looking sofas pitched up in the garage, and they've even got a tumble dryer washing some of the race suits. So it's very home from home down there.
That is interesting, that having the tumble dryer on the go, isn't it, for the race suits? Well, that's the last thing you want, though, is to miss your stint in case they program a wash cycle that's too long by accident.
Only thing they haven't got is a utility room and a kitchen diner.
Yes, and they'd be just about perfect, wouldn't it? So all the teams bedding in for the night, which we are now actually well through. It seems a very long time since it got dark at 7 p.m. It's now just gone 3:30 in the morning, so it's time to run down a classification more or less as it is at 11 hours, with leading the race still the McInerney Eclipse Ferrari, 260 laps complete. Second place is number 3, the Top Cats Racing Mosler. In third place is number 1, the MJC Wittgamski Ferrari. Fourth place is number 57, the Marcos Racing Lotus Evora, and that leads Class 3. 5th place is number 49, the Nicholas Mee Racing Aston Martin, second in Class 3. In 6th place is number 27, that's the Top Cats Racing Marcos, and that leads Class 2. 7th place is number 68, the Intersport Racing BMW. 8th place is number 66, the Dorset Porsche. In 9th place is number 6, and that is the Aquila. In 10th place is number 17, Ryan McLeod in the Holden Astra. 11th place and leading Class 4 as a result is number 89, the Brunswick Automotive car, the BMW. In 12th place is number 88, the Mardi Gras Motorsport entry, and that's second in Class 4. 13th place, having had its stop-go penalty in various adventures along the way, is number 46, that's the Pete Story Lotus Elise. In 14th place is number 84, the Red Camel Seat. 15th place is number 5, the ARC Bratislava Porsche. 16th place is number 80, the Synchro Motors car. In 17th place is number 75, apologies, the Mazda Motorsport UK car, and that is the Journalist car. 18th place is number 53, the all-Japanese driving lineup in the Top Cats Racing Mosler. 19th place is number 82, the Golf of Rob Carvel, and then rounding out the top 20 is the number 64 Scuderia Vittoria Porsche. The rest of them by number, with in 21st place number 77, 22nd place is number 90, 23rd is number 65, 24th is 83, 25th is number 4, 26th is 87, 27th is 94, 28th is 52, 29th is 78, 30th is number 59, 31st is 50, 32nd is 54, 33rd is 95, 34th is 93, 35th is 86, 36th is 81, 37th is 92, 38th is 61, 39th is number 7, 40th is 99, 41st is 91, 42nd is 48, 43rd is 63, 44th is 85, 45th is 55, 46th is 62, 47th is 56, 48th is 47, 49th is 79, and then we are beginning to get into the realms of the cars that are not circulated out of the race, but just to say that the 45 Mazda is still to be seen out on track as that looks to gain a little bit of ground, and we await as well the return to action from the number 60 Thorny Motorsport entry. As well into the pit lane has come the Nicholas Mee Racing Aston Martin car number 49 that was in 5th, and so that is going to promote now up into 5th position once more the Top Cats Racing Marcos as the Aston Martin has its pit stop. No adverse effects from, I think, the pit stops from second and third, although Chris may have an update for us.
Yeah, we've got a BMW in the garage, the 93 diesel CTR Alpha Tune car. If you're going to have a problem, or two problems, or three problems, I suppose it's better to get them all out the way in one go, and that's what's happened. The car was running well in 20th place. On the restart, the most recent restart, throttle cable went, so it got dragged back, or pulled back gently, by a quad bike back to the garage. When they got back to the garage, driver said he had a bit of a brake issue, so they've looked at the brakes and changed some of the brakes. So I don't know if they changed the pads or discs, but they've had a look at that. And then while they were doing that, they found that one of the push rods had gone as well, got melted by the exhaust. So looking at the front suspension of the car as well. So it's all come at once for them, which is bad news, but I suppose it's better than having three separate issues and three separate pit stops. So that's what's happened there. And just a couple of garages away, we've just had a driver change, to let you know, for the another of the BMWs, the Strata 21 car, number 63, with Adam Sharp taking over from Sarah Bennett-Baggs.
Yeah, that's been a disappointing race, hasn't it, for the Strata 21 squad, because it's a quick driver lineup, and Adam Sharp in particular has been absolutely dominant this year, having previously been one of the youngest ever class winners at Le Mans. He has had to drop back into what is, to all intents and purposes, club racing this year in the Project 8 Racing Saloons, where he's shown that he is still a formidable talent, and when his car has been running well, then he has been really some distance clear of the rest of the pack. So we'll look to see how Adam gets on. Sarah Bennett-Baggs herself is not a slow driver either. So that car down in 43rd position at present. The top three have emerged from the pits as they were, and in fact what this has effectively done is taken us back to the positions that we had an hour ago, which is the 3-lap buffer between the race leading number 2 car, the McInerney Eclipse Ferrari, and then 5 laps from the second place car to the third place car, which is last year's champion, Paul.
But that's come down, hasn't it, to 4 laps only from second to third, and the gap from third to fourth has now gone up to 2 laps. So what we saw as the number 1 car was coming up through the field, getting itself up into third place, has continued, and the gap has grown as Keith Robinson builds this cushion between himself and the chasing pack behind. Admittedly, they're all in a different class, but when you enter a Class 1 car, you're really interested in overall positions, and don't really want to worry about coming third in your class, but maybe finishing behind some lower class cars in the overall positions. Similar position is affecting the 27 Top Cats Racing Marcos, I suppose, number 27, because they're having an easy time of it in their own class, but they're having a splendid ding-dong battle as far as 4th places overall is concerned, and that's what they'll be interested in, is the battle for 4th overall rather than class positions, although they might tell you otherwise. The Aquila continues to improve. It's now a lap and a half only away from getting further up the leaderboard. It's still in 9th, but as I say, give it another hour and it'll be up into 8th, and Daybreak, I'm suggesting about 6th for the Aquila, unless there's something going on that we don't know about and it all starts to go wrong for it. I think what might start to be the calling card for many of them is when we get Daybreak and the temperatures start to rise again, and that's when everybody will suddenly start to find that these cars that are running so sweetly at the moment suddenly decide that they're not going to run so sweetly because all the temperatures start going off the gauges. Somebody's got a problem in the pit lane, Ben, unable to move. They're in the beginning of the pit lane, but they haven't quite managed to get it to go all the way into the pit lane. Now he's had to turn the engine off to try and get it restarted.
It's not Tishner shaped, is it?
Possibly, yeah.
Yeah, so the marshals come scurrying, and no, it's certainly not the number 7 car. I apologise, it's not red. They're waving to the marshals to get as many as possible to come down and get that car moved, because it's a narrow enough pit lane that there's not really the opportunity for 2 cars to run side by side, and that car has ground to a halt in pretty much the least opportune place to do so, because it's very near to the entry of the pit lane. It's probably...
Sean, we're nearly at the halfway mark. Only the halfway mark. It's suddenly got really cold. Is that going to make much of a difference to the way cars are behaving up the circuit?
Definitely. Primarily in the way they use their tyres, to be honest. We've had to compromise a little bit with our setup based on the fact that we were really starting to wear the softer compound that Dunlop provided us with on the left rear. So we've gone with a harder compound, which we've had to maintain. And obviously, as you mentioned, as the temperatures roll off, it's quite hard to keep and maintain temperature and to keep pressure. So when we just had a safety guard there, it made it quite hard to keep the car, on the back stuff, if I'm honest. Yeah, it takes a little while.
That said, you're 4 laps clear in the lead, so things can't be going too close.
No, absolutely no. I think I keep trying to block that out at this point in time, purely because we've got to run our own race. Obviously, there's quicker cars, they're in different positions, they've got different strategies. So we've just got to concentrate on our own situation. Ideally, we run the soft compound all round, and at least you could go, right, I've got the grip, and it's reassuring. So it just makes you a little bit nervous when you're out there at this time of the night, because the temperature is a little bit cooler. So
we were just talking to John Gore, who possibly the MJC Ferrari could be your main contender, similar car.
Absolutely.
He said that this race, in his opinion, starts tomorrow at about 10 a.m. That's when it's really going to start getting exciting. Absolutely. Is that how you're sort of seeing it too?
Yeah. It's a bit like really moving the whole kind of strategy to that point. We can just keep in a nice momentum and keep the strategy consistent at this point. And then, as you said, it will
the ante will be upped. I would say I'll up John's 10 to probably midday, and then it's 4 hours just to really go at it. Well, again, depends on where we are, but the hard work that, say, Phil is doing now will hopefully pay dividends when we get to that point, you know.
Now, obviously, as spectators, we want to see that grandstand finish. If it's a straight race to the end on pace, do you think you got what it takes to match or certainly exceed the pace of the MJC?
Well, they are obviously inherently the same car. A little bit difference in power, but that in itself brings different fuel strategy. So they are definitely quicker in a straight line, but I would assume that they probably use a little bit more fuel. So there's a little bit of torque and hair going on, but as I say, on pure outright pace, I think I'll give them a good run for their money anyway.
That's good. Can't wait. I mean, it sounds like there's only 3 of you as well. Does it make it hard to get any sleep? There's only 3 short stints.
Totally. Yeah. My father, who races with us, unfortunately got a problem with one of his eyes, so the night is always very difficult for him. So he checks out about 7:30 in the evening and says, I'll sleep for 12 hours. So he's having a nice little sleep now, and it's Phil and I that go back to back until daylight. And every year I come to this point before the race and think to myself, what the hell are we doing, the 3 of us? But it's hopefully, please God, in 12 hours time, when we do it, you think, well, it was all worth it, we've done three drivers every time we've done it. It would be nice to get the 4th in, but yeah, it's a bit sadistic really. I don't know why we do it, if I'm honest.
If you need me, I'm available for next
week. Absolutely, I'll have the details.
Nice one. Well, best of luck. We'll catch you after your next stint, see how you're getting on, but hopefully you'll still be in the lead.
Please God. Thank you. Cheers. Thank you.
But the Mardi Gras Motorsport car in second is about 2 seconds a lap quicker than the 89 Brunswick car just ahead of it, and so we could potentially see the change there for the lead of Class 4. We'll be looking to see whether that is changed. Paul is you're connected to the mains there, Paul.
I'm wired in, yeah. No, I was just going to get a little jacket to put my get like that and just put it over my shoulder.
Yes.
So you're connected as well. Then I'll say what I was going to say, except I've just distracted myself by standing up and saying it. So thank you very much. Yeah, we're just entering that time of the night when certainly from personal experience now, you're having to concentrate so hard, and you're finding little things just very, very difficult to do. And it's the same kind of thing that happens in the pit garages and happens on the circuit as well, when the mistakes just start to come a little bit more frequently, and you just really have to have have a systems for everything that you're going to do, so that when mistakes do get made, you get them, you catch them and get on with it quickly. So it's that time, and as people have mentioned, then as it gets light, you kind of think you're over it, but then other things come and hit you. But we'll see how it all goes.
Well, we're not yet, of course, at half race distance. That's still 45 minutes away if we've got to half race distance. And it goes back to the point you were making a little bit earlier on, Paul, about the race. It gets underway at 4:30. It's an early move in tonight here, given that the race gets underway in October. So with such a long night, you just psychologically feel far deeper into the race than you actually are. And not to mention, for all of the teams, of course, they've been here at the circuit getting the cars prepared, first of all for warm-up and then the race, since really quite early yesterday morning. So many of the teams not quite set for 24 hours on the go, but they're not too far adrift of it now, with still over half of the race remaining. So the top three remaining as it was. The battle for Class 4 honours, I think the teams are on the radio there, because they are pretty much exactly matching each other's lap times. The gap between them, 89 and 88, 19.1 seconds, so it's gone out fractionally on that previous lap. We've also had a personal best lap of the race for the number 82 Golf. That's the Rob Carvel Golf for 2 minutes 34.346.
Yeah, 89 and 88. The Mark Griffiths and the Mardi Gras cars have been at it all race, haven't they? They've been kind of exchanging those positions as they battle for class honours in Class 4, the BMW against the Honda Integra, and they're extremely well matched. And I mean, if you wanted to pick out a battle, as often happens, you don't get a battle for the overall lead or for the top classes, but suddenly there's a battle going on for one of the minor classes, and it goes on for the whole race as they challenge one another. 57 is in the pits. This is the Lotus Evora, the Marcos Evora. Just invented a new make there, haven't I?
It's nice and confusing, that, isn't it? When you've got the team named after one mark and they're running a different one.
Quite, yes. A bit like Lotus Renaults and things, which I don't understand at all.
I think what we're basically getting to is that if you run a Lotus, it's actually under a different marque's banner at all levels of motorsport. Is the conclusion we can draw. So the effect of that is likely to be the promotion back up into 4th position for the number 27 Top Cats Racing Marcos. So we've got the Top Cats Racing car that's the Marcos, we've got the Marcos that's the Lotus, and it's the 27 car that should move up into 4th position as a result of the pit stop, which remains ongoing. And I think that's pretty much on schedule for that 57 car, because they've been running out of kilter with what a lot of the other teams have been doing pretty much all race long. And Chris can update us from the pit lane.
Just been into the BPM Racing garage, that Ginetta that we saw cutting out and being pushed up the pit roads. Rob Cullen was in the car, and he's hoping to get back in the car. He's left his helmet on, but I grabbed a quick word with him, and it's an electronic problem. The onboard computer's basically thinking that the car is cutting out of fuel, and it's just died on him, so it didn't cut out straight away, it just gradually ground to a halt. It happened to him earlier, and he switched it all off, turned it back on, rebooted it, and it fired up again, but this time it wouldn't happen, so that was why he got pushed back. So he says it's all a hangover. Earlier on, when Ash Woodman was in the car, it went off into the pit wall over on the new start-finish straight, and he said it's basically all probably a hangover of that. So they spent a good few hours rebuilding the car near the start of the race, and they're still having issues with it.
I'm just, no, that's not the same, because you did mention to us, didn't you, Ben, that there was a car off into that pit wall which caused one of the safety cars, and the other thing which Sean McInerney was saying that I don't think we'd picked up on was that car had a hit on another car, and I'm reminded of something that Robin Murphy had said, because I think he'd said that although no, it wasn't that car, was it? No, that Robin did say that there looked like there'd been contact with another car, but I can't remember whether it was that Ferrari or not. But we never really got to the bottom of what contact that had been that the race leading Ferrari had earlier in the race that Sean was referring to, that they didn't want to repeat.
Yeah, there's been all sorts of incidents out and out on the circuit, and it's good to hear the reports coming in from the pit lane as well from Chris. Much appreciated for the teams a little bit lower down the order, because everybody is having their own dramas throughout the night, be it trying to rebuild the car from an earlier accident or just a chronic mechanical issue. And whilst we've been concentrating, of course, on the cars really in the top 20, which have had their dramas, but nothing too substantial. Once you move outside the top 20, then everybody has got a story to tell, and it involves an awful lot of effort and an awful lot of drama as well. So, and
they're invariably stories that need to be kind of rooted out, because that they don't happen kind of right in front of you, or they're not on television screens, and that you have to go down and find the team and find the driver who it happened to, and then get the other side of the story from the other party concerned. It doesn't kind of land in your lap like in some other forms of racing.
No, absolutely. It's always one of these races as well. In the night, the drivers just with the lights, they may not even be aware, possibly, of who they've come to contact with. It's just when you've got matching battle scars. Somebody's front bumper's gone, somebody else's rear spoiler is gone, that they came into contact, but they may well not have been aware of who it was they came into contact with.
Or you hand the car over for someone else to get in and aren't aware who it was that you just handed the car over to.
Well, yes, that's That's one approach, isn't it? But it's working for them. The don't know your teammate's name approach, because Top Cats Racing in the Mosler remain in second place in car 3 and are continuing to set reasonably consistent lap times. It's still probably the car that has been, Aquila aside, circulating the most competitively is the number 1 car, the MJC Ferrari, Wittgamski Ferrari, but 6 seconds lap faster, but with some 5 laps or 4 and a bit laps to gain. Is still just a little bit too much to ask just yet. But if they can continue this course of schedule for the remaining half of the race, maybe, just maybe, that car could get itself into a runners-up position as of by rights in terms of raw pace, and then all it takes is a drama to befall any of these top cars, and the race really does turn on its head. Bob Berridge in the Aquila is still the quickest man on the circuit, 2 minutes 11.3 last time round for him, as he is in pursuit of the number 66 Paul Winter car, and just looking to try and get himself onto the same lap as that car, and given that he is a good 20 seconds lap quicker, then that's probably not going to take him too long to achieve that aspiration. Without the battle in Class 4, how has that panned out over the previous lap? If anything, the gap's gone out just slightly. The Mardi Gras car, having gone through a period of closing in, has now just slipped back. Somebody sounding very rough as they came past us then. Very deep and throaty.
I think that was going into the pit lane, and so I think it was just on the limiter or whatever it is that they just off the cam or something. Not Berridge probably doesn't have very long to go before he's going to be running out of fuel. Depends how much they put in, but Berridge is kind of coming to that point where he'll be in fairly soon in the Aquila number 6.
At least this time around, they've now got enough of an advantage over the car in 10th position, the Elise, that they're not going to slip back down to 10th and have to work again to regain all that space. We've got the team manager of car 47 now to present at race control. That's Gemco Racing, who've had one of those races already with pretty much every single incident of drama that's imaginable that's happened on track. That car has been involved in them. So the team manager of car 47 to race control. We'll find out what for, I'm sure, in due course. One of the cars that continues to move up through the field, now that they've got it running well, is the number 4 Strata 21 Mosler, which is now up into 24th position. So the Cannon-Lockheed Paul White Javier Morcio Manuel Cintrano car is up into 24th place now, and is continuing to gain ground both as others fall by the wayside, and also just in terms of its raw pace. It's 20 seconds quicker than really most of the cars it's circulating with, and therefore climbs up the leaderboard. Likewise, up into 14th place now, we've got the ARC Bratislava Porsche, which is second in Class 2, and again, that car setting very competitive lap times of 2 minutes 21.2 on the last lap.
Nigel Mustill hasn't driven the Aquila yet, has he? As far as I know. Do you think he's likely to skip the driving altogether, or do you think he'll wait and have a go when dawn breaks and the car's still running?
If he's not out in the car by 9, I don't think we'll see him. But it could well be that as dusk came down, we had the car going so competitively that the decision was taken to run through the night, essentially with a driver lineup and a strategy that you do if you were looking to win the race. Unfortunately, it's not transpired to be that way, and then it could well be that come dawn, when a top 6 is really the most likely outcome for that car, that Nigel decides to have a go behind the wheel. We're now only 3 hours or so away from dawn. We're just coming up to 4 AM here, so the long night, I wouldn't say it's coming to a close or anything, but we're certainly nearer to sunrise than we are to sunset.
It's great, isn't it? You say things in this race that you would never say in other races. It's only 3 hours.
Yes, yes. You don't get that in a Formula Ford heat, do you? Unless it comes to rebuilding the tyre wall or the like.
Right. It's only 3 hours, so we're going to be able to restart the race meeting. Yeah.
All right, guys, you can hear from the disco in the background that I'm down at Mazda. The number 45 car has had more than its fair share of dramas today. Owen Mildenhall has just got out of the car. The latest problem, Owen, it's stuck in gear.
Yeah, we lost the gearbox, which we were left stranded out on. We were stranded out on the circuit. We lost all drive. The guys changed the gearbox really quickly in about 15 minutes, and I went back out again. Everything was running fine for 2 or 3 laps, but then now we're stuck in third gear. So it could well just be a hydraulic thing with the paddle shift. So they're going to have another look at it now. It's a real shame because when the car runs, we're really, really fast, and the car's flying. And we lost so much time at the start with a tiny little leak in the fuel cell, but it's such a massive job to change that. So it's been really tough for the guys. They've worked so hard, but we're going to get to the end somehow.
Literally, they haven't stopped at all, have they, today?
No, they've been working hard, really hard. So I had a little bit of accident damage as well. I got a slower car didn't see me because I went past and turned in on me. So that's unfortunate. I didn't really do any major damage, but that again was more work for the guys. So they've been absolutely flat out. So we need to get a finish really.
These Mazdas, they haven't got the straight line grunt of a lot of the cars here, but we're hearing that they're pretty mega through some of the tight, twisty bits.
Yeah, well, there's 2 different types here. Also, the other 2 cars are pretty road standard engines, so they're fairly slow in a straight line, but they're mega through the corners. And they're just they don't use much fuel, super kind on their tyres. So the other car is up to 16th overall. Our car's a lot more modified, so we've got about 270 horsepower, paddle shift gearbox, racing gearbox, so it's a much more modified car. And it's something we're developing, and it's the first year we're developing the car. So I suppose in a way it's expected that we're going to have a few problems in our first ever 24-hour race.
You enjoying the whole atmosphere, though? I know it's been a troubled race for you, but I mean, yesterday the build-up to the race and the grid walk and everything feels like a proper international event, doesn't it?
It certainly does. I've been lucky enough. This is my 5th time I've done this race. So, certainly I think the weather helps, and it was just a much bigger occasion yesterday. So, and it's lovely to drive at night here without the fog. So, I just wish we didn't have so many problems, but it's great.
What makes you want to do it as a driver? Because, like if you take a common sense approach, let's go race for 24 hours, a real slog, a real challenge. What motivates you to do it? Is that sort of human element of a bit of self-punishment to try and climb the mountain and get to the top and get through it all?
Yeah, I think I've been lucky enough to do quite a few 24-hour races. I've done this one, as I say, 5 times, and last year I did the Nürburgring 24 hours, which was a really amazing experience. But I think they're the ultimate challenge as a driver, because it's just the pressure to push and be quick, but not make a mistake, and to do that when you're tired and do it for 3 hours at a time. And it's a real challenge. And also you get a real sense of team spirit that you don't really get in sprint racing, because everyone is as much a part of the result as the driver. So it's a real... it puts a lot of pressure on you, but it means you get a really lovely feeling at the end.
Yeah, I know what you mean. When it's you and Dad and a couple of mechanics, and it's a sprint race, it's you don't feel that pressure of the team. I don't want to let the team down here, where you get that with this, especially I guess early in the race, because you don't want to be the one that bins it and nobody else has had a go, do you?
Absolutely not. No, it happens to the best sports car drivers in the world. Look at Anna McNeish at Le Mans, but you don't want to be the one that does that, because that's horrible. But no, I love 24-hour races. There's something special about racing. I love racing at night, actually, and it's a real challenge driving at night, and I really enjoy it. So I think it's a good mark of a quick driver if you can be quick at night. So.
All right, good to speak to you, and we'll keep going, and hopefully you'll get that flag.
Thanks very much. Cheers, mate.
All right, good to see you. Thanks, Owen. Thanks very much, Owen Mildenhall there. The Masters, we know, have had a few trials and tribulations, but the journos are going well, aren't they? Well up into the top 20.
They are. They're having a very positive race, aren't they? It might be to avoid that disco music we caught a snippet of in the Mazda garage, which sure is providing high energy levels, but it might not be quite what you want when you're trying to rebuild a car for the 3rd time in the evening. But yes, the first of the Mazdas is in 18th position, which is the number 75 car, which is the journalist piloted entry, as they are about to lap down on the 17th place car, which is number 53, Top Cats Racing Marcos, and that's the all Japanese driver lineup in that one. So that car, given what Owen Mildenhall was saying there, is broadly speaking, a standard MX-5 is really punching well above its weight, and again it's another of those cars that has just circulated consistently throughout the course of the event. So where are the battles at the moment? Towards the head of the field. Instead it's more, I think, long-term chase projects to watch. Witt Gamsky Porsche again is, not his Porsche, his Ferrari is again closing in by about 1.5 seconds on this last lap on the Top Cats Racing Moser, and whilst it remains 4 laps behind, the fact is gaining every single lap at the moment is therefore having a positive effect in keeping the pressure up on the car in front and just steadily moving up through the order. So the summons to race control for the 47 car, the Gemco Racing Ginetta G50, was a stop and go penalty, including a 41-second stop for an incorrect pit stop duration. And given the precision of the 41-second penalty, I wonder whether that was the amount of time that they urged from the time they should have served in the pit lane to the time that they actually did. So that pit stop, or that stop and go penalty, will be served fairly short. The car currently still in 47th position. We've had another place gained for the Strata 21 Mose, the car 4, and that's now up into 23rd, which means again slightly against all of the odds, given the problems that car had earlier on. That could well end up yet scoring a top 20 finish, which would be a fantastic result, given that I'm sure the team must have been pondering whether or not to put that car into the trailer and head home about 6 hours into the race, as we've got another car just heading into the pit lane now. Pick up who that was. I think it was any of the top runners. So the top 20 cars all circulating out on track, and
you're absolutely right, Ben. The penalty for not stopping for the correct amount of time for any pit stop is a stop and go for the amount of time short, which I sort of thought, okay, it's fair enough. But to make 41 seconds short of your pit stop strikes me that it's a massive error. That it's either the driver wasn't paying attention or you weren't paying attention. But it's not the sort of thing you would do on purpose and sort of think, oh well, somebody has just not been told to do what they should have been told to do or something. So it's one of those head scratching ones of how did that happen sort of thing. If I was running that team,
yes, chopping your mandatory pit stop time by almost half is it requires a certain level of effort. Again, a 41-second pit stop penalty in the context of being 127 laps off the lead. You can draw your own conclusions, I think, for how that may impact the outcome of the race, at least for them. And that car, in fact, on the last lap has gained a place. It's the 55 car, the Seat, where we heard from Chris that Archie Hamilton was going out, but that car was short of brakes, and it's not really been circulating all that much thereafter. So I just wonder whether the brake issues have been proving to be too much, and that car is back into the garage, either pending a full repair job or whether that unfortunately is that for the Seat. So that car slipping down towards the list of cars that are lost or in the process of having very extensive repair works on them. The other car that I think we were optimistic to see once more, but we haven't, was the number 31 RGM Motorsport Nissan, which we lost early into that car's second stint and hasn't been seen thereafter. And in particular, you've got to feel a little bit for Brian Hightocker, who flew over all the way from Fresno in California to compete, and he's not even got the opportunity to do a racing lap. Obviously, that's pending the car being rebuilt overnight. But
yeah, didn't we hear from somebody that the car was going to be rebuilt? I can't remember if we spoke with Bob Nicol or somebody in the team, but for some reason I have it in my head that they were going to rebuild the car, and of course if they do rebuild it overnight, then it makes sense to do so and then give the drivers a go in the morning. But maybe that's another thing for Chris to put on his list of things to do, just to check if there's any activity down in the RJN team garage and any sign of them rebuilding the Nissan, while we've got another car seems to have got itself stationary in the pit lane. commonplace to stop that, isn't it? Seems to be plenty of room to get past just there, as somebody just did exactly that, got past and went into the pit lane. But no, the car has stopped kind of on the pit lane entrance. The lights all went out a moment ago.
Yes, that's not an ideal place to stop at all, is it? Because actually, where that is also in the firing line if anybody was to rotate on the exit of Luffield. So we've got a not congested entry to the pit lane, but we have got the car in a somewhat exposed position there, just on the exit of Luffield, and that is going to require the attentions, I would venture, of possibly a flatbed truck with a tow rope, because I think that'd be a bit too much of an arse possibly to get the marshals to go to a live trackside situation on the way in towards the pit lane, with the cars coming out of Luffield and being pretty much unsighted to the stricken vehicle that we've got there. So whoever that is facing a fairly lengthy recovery period, because it's either going to take a very lengthy yellow flag period really all the way through Luffield to get to the appropriate vehicle to get that car recovered. Alternatively, it could fire up under its own steam, which is in fact what it has done, and that has propelled it not very far at all really, and is actually now getting to the point where it's going to start blocking some of the cars coming into the pit lane. So the car that wasn't an obstruction has now become an obstruction, as the own steam it's propelled by could possibly be the driver and one or two other marshals. Yes, it is. So the car receiving human rather than mechanical assistance to be pushed into the pit lane, and again it's a fairly lengthy push for the marshals. Hopefully we won't see anybody barrelling into the pit lane once more. The drivers should be able to get reasonably adequate warning that they can't accelerate into the pit lane too rapidly. So, yeah, as you were saying, Paul, that's two cars that have ground to a halt within metres, really, of their pit box. Just trying to pick out who it is. I can't quite see from here. Although, dare I say it, it looks disconcertingly similar to the BPM Racing Limited car, which has just left the pits after 21 minutes in the pits. So we will find out in due course who it was, but if that is the car that has just been in there, the 62 car, then they will, I think, be very, very unpopular indeed. Right, we've got a car coming down into the pit lane now, and he just sees the marshals doing the pushing in time, and there is enough space to pass through. Chris?
Yeah, we've got the car that leads Class 4, the Brunswick Automotive BMW, in number 89 for a straight change. 82, the VW Golf, the Carvel Motorsport Golf, has just come in and gone into the garage. It's fairly obvious what the problem is, because it's got no headlights. It's got rear lights, but it's got no headlights, so it's probably been told to come in. Well, the driver would have come in, so it can't see a thing, so that one's come in. And Top Cats, one of the Top Cats racing cars, the Japanese entry, has made it stop, and Ryo Seiya is into the car now. That one's gone back out. The Japanese crew, who not only came here last year and did very well indeed, given that most of them hadn't ever even raced in Europe or been to Europe before, let alone raced around Silverstone. And that car did get up into, I think, as high as 14th earlier on before it had a fuel surge problem. But that's the team where British team, Japanese drivers, everything, all the radio comms, constant communications with the drivers have to be done through a translator. So they have lots of layers of difficulty to deal with, but that car still running well.
Would you believe the car that broke down on the way into the pit lane again was the car that broke down the first time, the BPM Racing Limited number 62 car? So I sincerely hope they go and buy the marshals a couple of beers tomorrow afternoon, having got them to do two pushing efforts. Thanks to Chris for all of the the updates there from the pit lane as to the comings and goings. It's a bit of a shame there actually for Rob Carvell in the Golf, because that car's up into the top 20, punching well above its weight given the car's vintage and I think overall level of performance on a single lap. So they will be working to get those front headlights working. The cars at the head of the field still separated by the same differentials, and we're seeing Phil Keane pretty much matching almost 10th for 10th at the moment the pace of Keith Robinson in the number 1 Ferrari. And so whilst that means that the second place car is being closed in on to the rate of about 2 seconds a lap, there's absolutely no gain at all from the third place car onto the race leader, and likewise the second place car is slipping away from the race leader by about 2 seconds lap. So this stage of the race, as we are 50 minutes away from the halfway point, we are seeing things looking quite good for McInerney and Eclipse at the moment in the Ferrari 430. There is still a very, very long way to go, and so the way the race is poised now, Paul, gives no indication as how it's going to finish.
No, that's right. I mean, I think one thing which the first half of the race has taught us is that the speed at which changes can actually happen. You know, you only have to be in the pits for a small problem, that you only have to have a puncture, you only have to have a spin out on the circuit, hit another car or something, and you fritter away 2-3 laps very easily indeed. And whilst we've got this gap of 4 laps between the first two or the first 3 cars, each of them separated by 3-4 laps. In fact, going back to the first 5 cars, all separated by sort of 3 and 4 laps between each of them. Those distances are fine and a cushion on which to rest, as long as your car is just running smoothly and all you're doing is bringing it into the pits for fuel, tyres, driver changes and so on and so forth. As soon as something goes a little bit wrong, then all of a sudden you lose that time, and that's particularly happened amongst this battle for 4th, 5th and 6th places, as the Top Scats Racing's Marcos has dropped down and has then picked its way back up again. The number 27 car, which was third, dropped down to 6th and now is back up to third again. Sorry, was 4th and now is back up to 4th again, having dropped down. Meanwhile, in the Aquila, he's just moved up into 8th place with a very quick lap on that last lap, which was identical to his best lap of the race, wasn't it? No, it wasn't. Sorry, I'm looking at the wrong column. 2 minutes 11, faster than anyone else out on the circuit for the Aquila. And number 6, then we put Bob Berridge back in it, didn't we, after its last pit stop? So Bob, using his experience, and has now moved up into 8th place. Then, so the progress of that car. He was in 16th place at midnight, and he's now in 8th place, and it's not even 4:15 yet. So, you know, I said 6th place by daybreak, didn't I? Well, it's only 2 hours to daybreak now, according to Ben. Or it was only 3 hours, and that was about 40 minutes ago, wasn't it?
Yes, I'm giving it about 7 o'clock for daybreak.
Yeah, no, I think it certainly starts to lighten at about 6:30, because it's a clear sky. I think it will lighten fairly promptly at 6:30, but 7. I suppose I should actually check what time sunrise is, because that'll give us a good check.
And into the pit lane has come the 4th place car, so the number 27 Top Cats Racing Marcos is into the pit lane for its 9th pit stop. We've also got the journalists Mazda in, and the Synchro Motorsport number 80 car as well, that is 4th in the Class 4 battle. Still the Rob Carvell car is in, but as we were hearing from Chris, that's largely for them to source and repair some front headlights for that car. So
sudden glut of pit stops amongst the leading groups, with 4th placed Marcos number 27 into the pits for its 9th pit stop.
So they've been very lean on their pit stops, haven't they? Just looking, well, actually, within Group 2, there's not much Class 2, because there's not much comparison. But yes, the ARC Bratislava car has also had the 9 pit stops as well. So, but for those early issues around noise for the Bratislava car, you just wonder how competitive that would be, as we see a best lap of the race for the Elise in Class 3, number 46, 2 minutes 22.472 for that car in 11th position, but closing in rapidly on the 10th place car, which is now the car that leads Class 4, the 88 Mardi Gras Motorsport car, which is 24.5 seconds up the road, but is being caught to the tune of 10 seconds lap. Chris?
Yeah, answers to a couple of your questions. In the Welsh Motorsport Garage 55, the Seat Leon Super Cobra, it's still having brake issues, as you suspected. So they changed the pads earlier on. Now they've got some sensor issues on the brake. So they're working on it. It's going to go back out fairly shortly by the looks of things. As for RJN, the Nissan, I think the answer is it's not looking too promising, because the garage has been completely vacated. There is nothing there at all. The truck's still here, but there are no personnel, and there's no longer any tools or any sign of a Nissan here. So it doesn't look too promising.
Do you want to say game over, or shall I?
Game over. I'll put you out of your misery. I think you're right. Yep. Okay.
But that's very unfortunate, isn't it? I don't suppose you got to see him passing the damage to that car, did you, when you were in the pit lane earlier, Chris? Or well, anyway, not
Didn't know. No, the RJN
no.
car. No, I'm afraid not.
No, it's a real shame that because that car was again a real podium contender, both for the race overall and in Class 2. So thanks very much, Chris, for bringing us up to date with that one. So I think we can add car 31 to our list of definite retirements. The car that's still at the very foot of the number of laps completed is the number 60 Thorny Motorsports car, and they are determined to get back out there. We have got this time Prana Motorsport, who are being sent back towards the naughty corner. Their second summons to race control of the race. That car currently in 40th position. So, and also actually in the pit lane at the moment as well. So, see whether they receive any penalisation. Now, has this been a longer pit stop than normal for the Top Cats Marcos?
Number 27?
Yes.
Not yet. 30. Hang on, wrong column. 4:16 it came in, so it's 3 minutes.
And it's back out, so right.
No. What we need to know is whether it has been handed over to Neil Huggins, for he is the next driver due in on the rotation, having had driver changes after each stint, so they seem to be doing one driver, one tankful, as it were. But Chris will be on top of that, I have no doubt.
It's quite a punishing schedule, isn't it, that Top Cats are running for their drivers. Not much downtime at all for them between stints. Because certainly the two cars that we've been tracking, I'm pretty sure as well, therefore, that the 53 car as well will be the same, are running essentially a single stint, and then take the driver out, put the fuel in, and the next driver to take their turn. But
I think if you've got the drivers available to do that with, and each of them are running with 4 drivers, it gives you driver 3 hours 3 hours of rest and then an hour's driving, and that works well as a schedule. I think the problem is more for the McInerney's Ferrari, the Eclipse car, because they've got only 3 drivers in their team anyway, one of whom doesn't do the night bits, and that's where Phil Keane and Sean McInerney have then got a stern order, because they have to do all of the night driving between them, and they then just decide to chop that as 2 or 3 hours on and then 2 or 3 hours off, which is a much taller order, partly because they've only got 3 drivers, but also because only 2 of them drive at night.
Well, I don't know who's at the wheel of the Motion Sport Elise number 46, but for the second lap in a row, that car's just done its best lap of the race, a 2 minutes 21.836. My suspicions would point either in the direction of Pete Story or Stuart Rowland, both of whom are very quick competitors in the Lotus on Track Elise Trophy and also the Lotus Cup UK. And that car is posting its best laps of the race. We've got a stop and go penalty plus 10 seconds for car 55 for pit lane speeding. So the car that's barely been out of the pits, when it's come into the pits, has speeded. So that's the 55 car that Chris was updating us on as well. So it's back circulating, but we'll have to come in for a stop and go shortly for the pit lane speed limit. The Class 4 leading Mardi Gras Motorsport car, number 88, has now taken its moment to peel into the pit lane, so that is going to slip it back down right into the clutches of the 89 Brunswick Motorsport car that's been racing with pretty much the entire duration of the race thus far.
Do you know the difference between civil twilight, nautical twilight and astronomical twilight?
No.
Nor do I. Anyway, they're at different times. Civil twilight, I think, is when when you have to turn your headlights off. That's 6:33. So from 6:33, the government has decided that it's light enough that you don't have to have your headlights on. The sun actually rises at 7:05. So as you said, working on 7 o'clock is not far off. And as I say, 6:30 in terms of turning your headlights off. Nautical twilight, I'm guessing, is something to do with lighting your boat, and you can do that from 6 o'clock onwards. And astronomical twilight, 5:13. So that's ever so close.
It is. I guess that will mean the first twinklings of light in the horizon.
Yeah, so something like your telescope doesn't work anymore or something.
Yes.
It's too bright to see the darkest star, the dimmest stars. Oh, that's right. You learn something every day, don't you?
You do. So, yes, of course, it will be interesting to see whether the government approved twilight coincides with the James Tucker approved twilight, because one authority, Silverstone this weekend, yields quite a lot more power than the other, and so we are moving very rapidly towards the halfway point in this race, because we have got just 12 hours. 5.5 minutes left on the clock, so we are on the cusp of the halfway point. We've got a drive-through penalty for the 91 car, Prime Motorsport, on the basis of a refuelling infringement. So it is leading the way, number 2, Michael McInerney, still from second, number 3, the Top Cats Racing Marcos. Third is number 1, the Wittgamski Ferrari, and in the pit lane is Chris Hartley.
Yeah, the number 27 Top Cats is going according to plan, so it is now Neil Huggins that's got into that one. David Upton pretty pleased with his stint. This is very consistent, cars handling lovely, no problems to report, and a happy camp at the moment down there. They're doing very well indeed. The 55 Seat's just gone back out to try the brakes again, and the Acquia is due in. And you'll never guess who's going to get in the car.
John Martin?
Oh yes, he's a devil for it, isn't he? I don't know how much break he's having, but this is going to be what, 4th stint now. Is that right?
Hang on a second. Let me just find the right row.
It's going to be. Is it the start of his 5th hour?
He got in the first time at 6:30. That was his first stint, and he went through until 9:30. Then his second stint started at 1:20 in the morning and went through till 3 o'clock. And he's had 2 hours. How many break has he had?
An hour and a half.
Hour and a half, but he didn't do 3 hours before, so that probably just about works.
So he'll be heading back out there. And that car is into the pit lane now for its pit stop. So to just continue running down the order, in 4th place is number 57, the Marcos Racing Lotus Vora, that leads Class 3. 5th place is number 49, the Nicholas Mee Racing Aston Martin, also in Class 3. 6th place is number 27, and that is the Top Cats Racing Marcos. In 7th place is number 68, the Intersports Racing BMW. 8th place is number 6, the Aquila. 9th is 66, the Dorset Sport Porsche. 10th is number 46, the Motion Sport Lotus Lease. 11th place is number 70, the Ryan McLeod Holden Astra. 12th place and leading Class 4 is 88, the Mardi Gras Motorsport entry, which in fact isn't. In 12th place it is the 89 Brunswick Motorsport entry that leads it. The Mardi Gras Motorsport entry is 13th in car 88. 14th place is number 5, the ARC Bratislava Porsche. 15th place is 84, the red Camel Seat. 16th place is 53, the second of the Top Cats Racing Marcuses. 17th is number 80, Synchro Motorsports. 18th is 75, Mazda Motorsport UK Journalist car. 19th, hopefully with headlights now, is number 82, Rod Carvel in the Golf. And in 20th place is the Scuderia Vittoria Porsche, number 64. The rest of them by number. 21st place is 77, Dave Cox. 22nd is 90, Dominic Malone. 23rd is number 4, Paul White. 24th is 65, Sub-Zero Wolf. 25th is 52, Forza Motorsport. 26th is 78, Andre Severs. 27th is number 50, Tom Black. 28th is number 54, Clint Bardwell. 29th is 59, Mike Brown. In 30th we've got 86, the Mazda Motor UK military car. 31st is 95, 32nd is 87, 33rd is 83, 34th is 94, 35th is 93, 36th is 92, 37th is 61, 38th is 7, 39th is 81, 40th is 91, 41st is 99, 42nd is 48, 43rd is 63, 44th is 85, 45th is 56, 46th is 47, 47th is 79, 48th is 55, 49th is 62, and then in 50th is car 45. The rest of them are unfortunately down onto our list of retirees.
And with 285 laps completed at half distance, we're well on schedule to beat the distance record. Could be the fastest ever 24-hour race in the UK.
Which would be quite something, wouldn't it? So we are heading towards halfway. Some more news from the pit lane.
Yeah, the Aquila fires up, so John Martin just about to head back out with, again, new slick tyres onto that car. Next door, Synchro Motorsports Honda Civic has just gone out. That's been in for, well, between 10 and 15 minutes with a drive shaft. So even at this time in the morning, with all the work they've done, the boys can still fix a drive shaft, get it back out there in less than 15 minutes, which is not bad going, is it?
That's very good going. And actually, they're still in the top 20, Synchro Motorsports, after that. They're in 18th, so...
Sorry, that's the number 80 car, isn't
yes.
it? Yeah, that came in at 4:08 and has gone at 4:30. So, yeah, you're a little bit generous with 10 and 15 minutes. It was more like 20, but it was certainly a very, very quick stop, Ben, yeah.
So we are now exactly halfway through the 2011 Britcar 24 Hours. We've had a brilliant first half to the race. What the second half will have in prospect, I'm sure, will be equally dramatic. So we're going to have a little bit of a change in the commentary team, because very shortly in the pit lane we're going to see Brian taking over from Chris Hartley. And unfortunately, Paul, I'm going to be abandoning you for a couple of hours.
Unfortunately? Oh yes, no, it's always sad to. Always sad to.
You can now start the party in here.
Yeah, absolutely. I've got the champagne on ice. I'm not quite sure that I have actually, but no, we will battle on. Just trying to work out the third place Class 4 car, the red Carmel car in the pits. Have a good break, and we'll see you later on, Ben.
I'll see you later today.
Yes, it'll just seem like a few minutes. So the 84 Red Camel car, the third place car in Class 4 in the pits at the moment, and I'll just have to talk through what I'm doing basically, which is 256 laps for its 7th pit stop. So the red Camel Seat Leon there of car number 84 has had a really good run actually. The drivers Henk Tyson, Ivo Breukers and Hun Jensju, and just between the three of them they've kept that car going strongly and have kept it out of the pits, which is obviously an important part of endurance racing, and have got a position in 14th place overall, and as I say, third in their class. If you do get a chance to find out who's in the wheel of the Seat Leon number 84, Chris, the TDI car, do jump in and let us know so we can just keep the details going up to date. So in the pits at the moment is car number 66, the Porsche with the Paul Winter Porsche, number 66, the Dorset Sports Cars entered car, and the last time we had that one, it was Graham Mundy at the wheel, and that car in 8th place overall. Albeit 19 laps behind the race leader. And again, for Chris, because I think that one is in slightly earlier than I would normally expect it in car 66. Another car that's had a good run thus far, but the that 9th pit stop coming just a little bit earlier than we would have expected it to.
Paul, I'm down here with Dave Bennett entered number 64 Porsche. Sam Alpass with me. We're at the halfway stage, Sam. We've had a few trials and tribulations. Talk us through your day, your race so far.
That was my third stint, and that was probably the best one so far. Getting used to the track and the car, which the car is new to me, so finding a little bit of rhythm, which is obviously important. Had a little coming together with another car, but no damage, fortunately, just a little tyre mark on the rear section. That gave me a bit of a moment going into the dog leg. Otherwise, the car's been pretty good, actually. We lost a lot of time in the first couple of hours with a broken half shaft, and that's really set us back, but we're clawing our way back from about, I think, position 45 to inside the top 20 now, so I think it's heading in the right direction, which is great.
Absolutely right. You talk about the trying to get the rhythm and the flow out there, but and also a bit of a coming together. The traffic, I guess, the speed variations between the drivers and the different cars increases out there at night time, doesn't it? Because some of them just aren't used to it, and you must be rushing up to some of the slower cars quite quickly.
It counts both ways. We're probably in the middle of the pack in terms of pace, so we've got cars to pass and cars which are passing us, and makes it very hard to judge distances and accelerations when you've got bright lights in your rear view mirror, and so that's why you do get a bit of contact sometimes. But so far the car has got away with it, and long may it continue, I hope.
When the quicker cars are coming past, you've just got to get on with your own business, really. When you start slowing up and trying too hard to let them through, that's when your own rhythm, your own lap times go out the window. You've got to look after yourself, and they've got to get around you, haven't they?
Well, the two problems I had with passing cars are I've been the meat and the sandwich both times in the middle. So that makes it very difficult because you can only look at one at a time, otherwise, that's the tricky part when you've got two who are fighting for a position, perhaps, and they're coming at you from different sides. That's really very difficult to deal with.
All right, Sam, thanks very much for the insight and a good effort. Hopefully you'll keep going a bit further up in that top 20.
Thanks a lot. Cheers.
Thanks very much there. Right, back to you, Paul.
Yeah, thanks, Chris. Yes, good to hear. Yeah, I mean, often it is the guys in the middle that have the most difficult time of it, because the guys of the really slow cars just get used to looking in the mirrors and keeping out of the way, and the guys in the really fast cars are just looking all the time ahead of them and flashing the lights and finding a route through the traffic. But it really does take extra concentration if you're the guy in the middle, because not only do you have to concentrate on keeping your car going quickly and setting the lap times, but also be aware of cars coming up behind you, and also being aware of slower cars that you have to get past and lap. So it's a double bad news for many of them. Now the ARC Bratislava car, Chris, has been in the pits for a little while now, to the extent where...
So we've just passed the halfway mark. It's 4:35 a.m. and we're still going, and the race is hotting up. In the lead, the McInerney's. They've got a 3-lap lead now over the Mosler, which is in itself four more laps ahead of the MJC Ferrari. So we've basically got three cars that look like they're the ones that are going to be there in the morning when finally the sun comes up. You see, get that.
Climb through the field, and if the opportunity should present itself, then the Red Camel Sayat Leon that we were talking about earlier on just made its pit stop. That too was a fairly lengthy sort of pit stop, around about 4 minutes, where the compulsory amount is 1.5 minutes, so there were a good 2.5 minutes over their compulsory amount. So whether they did extra work or whether something just went wrong, we don't know. But as I say, Chris is down there in the pits and is in a position to find out. Still this splendid battle going on amongst the Class 4 cars, with very little to choose between the 89 Mark Griffiths car with the car that he's sharing with William Green, Dave Faunsbury and Bill Kirkpatrick, the Brunswick Automotive BMW M3, and the Mardi Gras car number 88, Desmond Smales Mardi Gras Motorsport Honda Integra. Those two matching their lap times pretty much every lap, although on that last lap the Mardi Gras car just a little bit slower, and so Mark Griffiths being able to just extend the advantage a little bit. The leader is in the pits, and this is the number 2 Ferrari, which Phil Keane is currently behind the wheel of, and if we've got the schedules correct, that'll be Phil Keane just getting 75 litres of fuel and then heading on his way again. Chris will confirm that as and when he has information. And that's at 4:39 in the morning. A 40-lap stint there for Phil Keane on his last stint, and as it happened on the previous time around, not long after the leader comes in, so also does the second place car, the Top Cats Racing Mosler, coming in at the end of its 287th lap, still 3 laps behind the race leader, but on pretty much the same refuelling schedule now. He did only 31 laps compared with the Ferrari, who did 40 laps, so buy yourself a Ferrari, not a Mosler, they're more economical, I suppose, is the message that comes out of that. And at exactly the same time, 4:39, they come in for their pit stop. Now the question is whether Henry Fletcher is going to stay in the Top Cats Mosler for another stint. If not, then the car should be handed over to who will the schedule take it to? It'll be Freddie Hetherington, won't it? So we'll wait for Chris to advise us of that, but the Ferrari has got on its way again, number 2. So I think there was only time for fuel to go into that car, and it was on its way again. So half distance and 290 laps completed, a little bit over half distance now for the Eclipse Motorsport Ferrari 430 in the lead of the race. The Top Cats Mosler still in the pits. As I say, with our expectation that that car will be having a driver change. must say that Top Cat's Mosler has had a super run of it, but just hasn't quite had the pace to stay with the Ferrari. Hasn't really had the pace to stay with either of the Ferraris, but with the MJC car having had its problems, then it's managed to get itself into second place, but without similar problems having befallen yet the McInerney's Ferrari. Then that's why that gap of 3 laps has built up.
Paul, a couple more updates for you. The Red Camels, Seat Leon, just spoke to Adam Howden, who got out of the car. Ivo Broekers is now in, so Ivo Broekers, the Dutch driver, is now in that one. The slightly longer pit stop was to check the clutch. Had a bit of a worry about that, but it seems to be okay. So the news is that it's not...
Well, they would say that, though.
They would say that, yeah, but...
yeah, that's what my garage always says when I say I'm not too happy with the clutch.
And then guess what happens? Yeah, exactly. And then next door, I'm afraid, the number 5 Porsche 997, the ARC Bratislava rented car, that's had a clutch failed, and the team have now called a day on that one, so that car is not going to go back out at all.
Oh, that's another red blob. So the retirements get marked with red blobs, I'm afraid. So the Bratislava car, having made a good start, then having had problems in the early part of the race, made a good recovery, and then followed that with a retirement just after half distance. So disappointment for the team comprising of the Azteca car from last year, the ARC Bratislava car of Miro Konopka, Scott O'Donnell, Sean Edwards, and the 2 Polish drivers that it's too dark to pronounce the names of. And so that car, sadly, it would seem out of the race then, still being shown in 16th place, but that will eventually drop off the leaderboard. So with that worry, I just wonder now if the Synchro Motors car is okay, because that had a long pit stop. We were commending it because it got out again, but it's come back in again, and that one has been at rest for a good little while now as well. And my concerns now turn towards the Synchro Motors car number 80, the Honda Civic, into which Andrew Hack is one of the drivers. Kyuchi Okamuro and Tim Stanbridge, the other drivers, and Dan Wheeler in number 80. As another pit caller is the Aston Martin of the Nick Mee Racing Team, number 49, coming in for its 10th stop. And that's 12 laps behind the leader as it comes in, out of 5th place it is now, having fallen back behind once again the Top Cat Marcos number 57. Beg your pardon, 57 is the it's not Top Cat Marcos, is it? It's the Marcos Lotus Aurora. And so that car in the pits, the Aston Martin, having done a stint of 28 laps. And so the Nick Mee Racing car in the pits as well. So the Aston Martin and also the number 57 Lotus Evora, both in the pits at the same time. '57 Lotus Evora then, which did have Hal Pruitt at the wheel, is now in for its 13th pit stop on lap 281. Meanwhile, I've been joined by Steve Wood up here. Are you enjoying it, Steve? You having a good time?
Most definitely, Paul, yes. Very intriguing race.
It is, isn't it? And I mean, the great thing about it is that at this time of night, there is still so long to go that although everybody's feeling the fatigue and the exhaustion and the stress of it all, you can't afford to relax at all, because the time that you make up now and the little bright ideas that you have now, or the other side of it, the mistakes that you make now, are going to be the ones that cost you the race.
Most definitely. Intriguing to see that the Eclipse car is still at the top after all this time, and we're just over halfway through the race now.
Yeah, and I mean the other thing about this race is it's been the pace it's been run at. It's we have had safety car periods, but they've been short and sharp. The safety car has gone what it's had to do, come back in again. The pace has been very hot, hasn't it?
It has been, yeah, very hot indeed.
And do you think that's going to sort of cause its own stresses and strains on the?
I spoke to John Gore yesterday, and he said he didn't think any car would get through this race without an issue. And I tend to believe in it. The heats, I think, will play a significant factor tomorrow morning.
Yeah, I think as the sun comes up, then that is when it does become more difficult, doesn't it? Because you get the driver tiredness and the light coming, and just makes it all worse, doesn't it?
Yes.
We've got is that Brian down in the pits, or is it still Chris?
I just was listening to what sounded like doom and gloom, gentlemen.
Oh, I'm sorry. Why do you think that? We were just saying how much we were enjoying the race, Brian.
Well, you were predicting, weren't you? And it all sounded as though when the sun comes up, it's all going to be disasters. I hope that's wrong, but I've just had 2.5 hours, so I'm hungry for information. I can give you a little information, and that is that number 68 will be in fairly shortly, I think, and they will lose probably a couple, if not 3 laps, because they've got to do a brake pad change. So that will be a lengthier pit stop.
Okay.
But that is, I'm afraid, only the first report that I have from the pits, which, and I've got a lot of catching up to do, because they're...
Well, in the pits at the moment, you've got the number 1 Ferrari, the MJC Ferrari, which is currently in 3rd place. Now, the last time we had that car in, we had Keith Robinson behind the wheel of it, Brian.
Yeah.
But it should now have changed. Now, the problem that they've got with the car, as you'll remember from earlier on, is this seat problem. Now, the way they've installed the seat is that it fits for Keith Robinson and Phil Dryburgh, but it's not going to work if John Gore gets in it, because he's a small chap, and the other two are bigger chaps. So the problem for them is going to be how they get John Gore into it. And the question for you to answer for us, Brian, is whether John is in it yet, and if not, when he is going to get into it.
Right. Okay, I'll establish that fairly swiftly. We've got the number 70 in for what looks like a routine pit stop. They're taking fuel on board, and it looks as though we're going to see the driver get straight back in. Not quite sure who is in it at the moment. Oh no, well perhaps not, because we've got Camilleri who's taking his helmet off, and it looks as though, if I can see a waistband, yes, we've got Andy Walsh getting in.
It was Camilleri last time we had that, so that would make sense if he's handing to Andy Walsh.
Excellent.
and meanwhile out on the
How are they doing and where are they, Paul?
They're doing very, I hate to say this, they're in 11th place and they're 6th in Class 3 at the moment. So 11th place overall. They've had problems in between good runs, and most of the time the good runs have exceeded the problems. So that's why they've done as well as they have. And as Steve was just saying, you're not going to get through the race without any problems at all.
No.
And the trick is to minimise the problems, to recover from them, and get on with the race.
Yeah, there was a Hugh Chamberlain quote a little bit earlier on, wasn't there?
No, we just saw, looking over towards Brooklands corner, the number 4 Mosler, which has had various problems throughout the race. This is the car that Callum Lockie is driving, the Strata 21 car. Has had a moment over there at Brooklands corner, the left-hander at the end of the Wellington Straight. Now I saw the tank, the rescue units pulling it to a place of safety. I haven't seen the car getting going again, but that car is one that's fallen a long way behind anyway, the number 4 Mosler, and it's back in 24th place. But it's like a lot of people have been saying to us, Brian, when their car is running well, it's running very strongly. But again, that car has had problems with this fuel pickup throughout the race, and that's why it's fallen so far back, as you're aware. So the MJC Ferrari is back out on the track. I'm not quite sure if you managed to get to it to find out what was happening with the seat on that car, but it's back out running now again. And what we'll do from this end is to keep an eye on the lap times for that car and see if we can make any suggestions about who might be behind the wheel. As I say, the last time it was Keith Robinson behind the wheel. Number of cars, Steve, that have had problems over the race that maybe a lot of people thought would be contenders. I'm thinking of the BMW, the Tishner Motorsport car, the Bratislava Porsche, a number of the foreigners and the people who have come from a long way. They seem to have been the ones that have had all the problems.
Seen as dark horses, but that's because they were an unknown quantity to us, really. The Tishner car, the BMW Z4, a brand new car, never been raced before, so very much in development there. The Bratislava, yes, I think we expected great things from them, but it was the noise issue with them that really put them on the back foot early on.
Yeah, it's always difficult to recover from problems early on in the race, isn't it? It means that you're playing catch up throughout. And of course that's the task, amongst others, that we're watching from the Aquila. Surprised to see that car still in the race, even at half distance, because a lot of people said, it won't last. Last year it had its problems.
I think it's wishful thinking on their part. The reliability has improved enormously over this year. We've seen that in the Britcar Championship.
But anyway, they've currently in 8th place then, the Aquila, with at the wheel of it at the moment John Martin, and he's been out now for, goodness me, time flies, almost half an hour, is continuing to lap very quickly, first certainly faster than anyone else out on the circuit, and 15 or so seconds faster than the car ahead of him. And so what he's got to do is to continue to lap quickly, as we know that John is capable of doing from the stint we had earlier on. And we just need to ensure that he keeps it on the grey bit in the middle, as the race leading Ferrari, Phil Keane, having stayed in the car at that last pit stop, has now set that car's fastest lap of its race. So just obviously finding a nice clear bit of track somewhere. Number 2, Phil Keane at the wheel, and 2 minutes 10.140 is the fastest that car has gone all race. Although significantly, and this gives you some idea of the threat of the Aquila, the Aquila has lapped 6 seconds faster than that on a single lap. So the Aquila undoubtedly far and away the fastest car on the track, and that's why in a way we've got this fascinating contest now as we see whether or not the Aquila can get back into the race. I mean, the potential is still there for it, Steve.
It most definitely is, but I think you've got to look at the fact that those 3 cars in front of it are going to be taking less pit stops. So he's got to make up essentially 4 laps before he gets in contention with Kevin Clark, who's going to have significantly less pit stops.
Well, he's already had twice as many pit stops, hasn't he? And 2 of those have been stop-go penalties, of course, because the car has been penalised on 2 separate occasions.
We've just seen 77 come into the pit lane. How's the Cox family doing? How many pit stops have they had so far?
They're up to 17 at the moment.
Oh my God.
And I have to admit, I've got to make some compromises in trying to do things, and they've kind of slipped off my list, because if I try and record every one of their 17 pit stops and try and keep track of everything else that's going on, then you won't hear anything from me at all. However, that's the bad news. The good news is that the car is in the top 20 just. It is 20th overall, and in terms of its class position, it's 7th in class 4. So they're having a difficult race, but ultimately if the cars around them are having more difficult races, then it's going to stand them in good stead. So this is number 77 car that we're talking about in class 4, which is the Coxers, joined by Paul Stubber.
Michael Cox is getting into the car at this point.
Excellent. Okay. So
and he's quite a tall chap, lad, and he's certainly a lot taller than his dad, and he's certainly quite a bit taller than his brother, Jason, who's just got out the car. How is it, Jason? You've had your problems this weekend.
Yeah, we've had a few problems, mainly with the engine loom causing a misfire. Now we've got no ABS, so I flat spotted the right front on lap 3 of that 2-hour stint, so it's been interesting.
It has, yeah. How was the car handling?
Fantastic, as good as it was at the start. Dench has built a brilliant car.
You're up to 17 pit stops, did you know that?
I didn't know that, but we came in a few times trying to fix the misfire. We lost so many laps.
There's the old man in bed.
Yeah, he's asleep at the minute.
Quite properly. Yeah. All right. Well, there you had it. Heard it straight from the horse's mouth, as it were. Michael Cox about to come out as number 75. The Mazda comes in.
I'll tell you what, Brian. My dad never let me have a car at 4 o'clock in the morning while he went to bed.
My dad never actually had the opportunity to object, because it was about 7 o'clock in the evening when I took it out. And it sometimes was well past 4 o'clock in the morning when I brought it back in. I had to be careful to get it back in time for him to go to golf. I think there were only 2 times when I failed, but he did manage somehow to overcome the problem.
You've also got the number 68 BMW in the pits, which is the 7th place car.
With Wayne Gibson about to take over.
Okay, and so 68 will go to Wayne Gibson.
And may I remind you, they're going to have a brake pad change. So
that's the one that's having the brake pad change, yeah. Is it right? Okay, I did take that on board. I just didn't register that this was the stop on which that was happening, which is stop number 8 for that car. Which,
yeah, don't forget it's in the programme as 67, but in deference to Laughing Pete, who's lying in a hospital bed in Barcelona, he's been with them for 18 years, hence the strong feelings amongst them to be thinking of him when they've got a minute.
I was going to say, I hope they're not doing that just at the moment if they're doing brake pad changes, because you want to focus on the job in hand. But I know exactly what you mean as 5 a.m. in the morning comes up on the watch.
91 back out. Don't know what was going on in there. Now they paid a drive-through penalty a short while ago, and I have little else on that, so I'm not quite sure what they were trying to achieve a short while ago. Let's see if we can find out.
Okay, the other one, as I say, is that which one did we have in recently? You told us about the Mazda coming in, didn't you? 75, which is the journalist's Mazda. They're coming in for their 8th stop. And yes, of course, for the BMW 68 having its brakes sorted is going to play further into the hands of the Aquila and give them another place in about 3 minutes' time, assuming that the Aquila keeps going for them those 3 minutes, because that will bring it onto the same lap as the BMW. And then it'll start moving much more up still further up the leaderboard. Which are your favourites, Steve? You got particular cars that you're keeping an eye on?
Sorry.
Brian's back now.
Did I have a live microphone? And I was finding out about 61, and they've changed a gearbox and clutch in an hour and 38 minutes and sent him back out, the G50, number 61, on his merry way. As number 46 lands at my feet, this is the Story Mitzengower Roland car, and it looks like routine.
As up on the screen comes another order for a team manager to visit race control, that being the team manager for car number 65, which is the Sub-Zero West Seat Super Copa. Craig Davis, Adam Jones and Lee Allen with something to report, and we'll wait and see. Sorry, Steve, you were about to tell us about the progress of your favourites, or which ones you're keeping an eye on. And
Officer. As a Britcar press officer, I can't have favourites, but I must admit the 27 Top Cats Marcos, very pleased with the progress of that. It's at the top of class 2, obviously, but holding 4th place, going like a train.
Yeah,
excellent performance.
Of course, you're not a Britcar press officer at the moment. You're one of the commentary team, so you can take that.
They'll hang me if I if I tell the truth.
Once a press officer, always a press officer.
Yeah, I've heard that before. So also into the pits is the number 46 Lotus Elise, Pete Story's car, coming in for stop number 8, and we'll just run a check on that one to ensure that one has come in on schedule. Yep, 26 laps on the stint of that car. And I say Pete Story will, I'm not sure who the driver is on that one at the moment. The options of the Lotus, apart from Pete Story.
Mike Rowland is getting into the car. The Geordie.
Right, okay, so yeah, Mike Rowland taking over, I suspect, from Ben Gower. So that car, number 46, is another of those cars that's having a good run in the top 10. And it's interesting how many of these Class 3 cars, by staying out of trouble, have picked up the places whilst those around them have had their problems. I mean, it's been amazing that, Steve, in Class 2, how many of them have actually dropped out.
There weren't that many in the first place, 4 or 5 cars, and Yes, the Top Cats car, I think only the ARC Bratislava which is making a comeback, and I think Martin Short, the Roll Centre car, probably too far back now to qualify for a position.
Well, I think he's a retirement as the Bratislava car has also retired now. So, yes, we didn't have very many of them to start with, but they seem to have hit their problems more than some of the others have done.
Ben Gower reports that the call was absolutely timed to perfection, because as he went down Hanger Straight, the car was going beginning to miss as it sucked up air instead of fuel, and so they got it in and have refueled it. He was out for not far short of 2 hours, I suspect. So he enjoyed that. We've got the Aston in here, number 50, and looks like a straightforward driver change. The fuel going in, a normal routine pit stop by the look of it, and it's Tom Black who's just got out of the car and is looking, I think, to equip the driver with a drink. I misread that. Is it Tom who's getting in? I think it may well be.
The problem often is, Brian, that the driver has to get out of the car during the pit stop. So that makes life difficult for you, because you see a driver getting out of the car when they put the petrol in, and then you think, oh, he's going to get out of the car, but then he just gets back into it again.
Yes, in fact, Stuart, who's just got out of the car, is going to install Tom. So that's the reason for the confusion, because they were both hovering around looking as though they were going to get into it, but in fact it's Tom who gets in, and Stuart is merely installing him.
Right.
I'll have a word with Stuart and find out how the car is behaving. Where is it at the moment, Paul?
Hang on a second, which one is this? This is...
Number 50, the Aston Martin.
He is in 24th place, and a long way down in his class, 24th place overall.
Right. So a lot of hard work to do.
3, 6, 9, 10th in his class.
Right, so in other words, not been a good night for them.
There have been other people who have been having better nights, shall we put it that way? But equally, there have been people who have been having worse nights, and they're still going. And where are they in terms of laps? They are...
Hugh insists that they try again at cleaning the windscreen, which does have a mark on it, roughly in the middle. I wouldn't have thought it would take Tom long to get used to that blemish.
Yeah, they're 48 laps behind the class leaders.
Oh dear.
61 laps behind the race leader.
So quite a lot of hard work to do in the
still to do, yes.
Next few hours. Okay.
Ben Gower, just to go back to him, you were talking to him. His stint was an hour and 7 minutes. An hour and actually a bit more than that. It was an hour and an hour and 7 minutes. I was right first time.
I've got a feeling he was overstating his case.
It was a good long stint. It was a good full stint of 26 laps, so a full tank full.
Yep. I'm just going to see, have we kicked 68 back out yet?
68 is on its way, yes. So they've had their brakes sorted. They have lost the position in the overall positions to the Aquila whilst that was going on, though. I said it probably would happen, and John Martin has got ahead. So John Martin in the Aquila is now up into 7th place. The BMW is back into 8th place overall, but still holds 3rd place in the class, just ahead of the number 66 Porsche of the Dorset Racing team. So those are the positions of Class 3, but the Aquila, whilst it's making painfully slow progress at clawing back the gap between itself and the race leader, is clawing its way quite easily at the moment up the leaderboard, and as I say, is now in 7th place, having been 16th just after midnight.
Right, apparently the brake pad change took 6 minutes, which is not bad on the BMW.
Yeah, no, that's I'd say a little bit longer than normal, but certainly nothing nothing too serious.
A very relaxed pit garage here, where number 2 is housed. Let's hope it stays that way. I'm referring, of course, to the Eclipse Ferrari, which is currently
in the hands of Phil Keane, and is being driven at a great speed by Phil Keane. He's on his second stint of a double stint, his second part of a double stint at the moment, and at the beginning of this second part, when the tyres were already used, but therefore up to temperature, it just set the fastest lap for that car of the race. So he's lapping quicker than pretty much everything else on the circuit, with the single exception of the Aquila. And as I say, the other thing which is particularly important is just the pure consistency of it. You know, he's able just to keep the laps coming in lap after lap after lap, where it was interesting, we heard, I think just before you came on duty, Brian, from Sean McInerney, he was saying how his mind began to wander a little bit as the race went on, and you know, as the fatigue had its impact, so distractions became much more difficult to kind of shake off, and just to focus was that much more difficult.
It's worth perhaps just remembering that he has other things to think about, Paul, because he was the erstwhile owner of, now what's the name of the company? Holmes, for the elderly, remember?
Oh, I don't know.
Very much in the news because, of course, under the new ownership, I think that whether or not the McInerney still have an interest in it, I don't know, but certainly the company's been in the news a lot recently because of the way in which the homes for the elderly have been managed. However, enough of that. I can see my old mate Mike Wilds, who looks as though he's out of work, out of bed, and I want to know whether he's still suffering from the flu.
Yeah, I understand as well. Possibly you can ask him, Brian, but I think there is a plan afoot for his son to do the Nürburgring 24 hours next year.
Bugs, Mike. So, are you redundant?
At the moment. Yes, it appears that we keep blowing alternators for some reason. We're not running immense lights, but it keeps blowing alternators and we run out. We're trying to get another one, but I think it looks as though we're going to have to wait till the sun comes up and then we'll try again. So it's turned into a test session, basically. No, not at all, but always next year.
Challenges are what this is all about, aren't they?
Lovely to see you, Brian.
And you, Mike, take care. So, they're polishing the car at the moment.
Yeah, as I say, I have heard on the grapevine that I've forgotten Mike's son's name, but
well, there are two, of course. Anthony, who is a very fine pedlar, and Michael, who is a less frequent pedlar and maybe not quite as quick.
But I think it's possibly Michael. As I say, to do the 24 hours at the Nürburgring next year. I don't know if Father Mike has heard the rumour or not. So.
Well, I'll go back and ask. But at the moment, I've got my arm round Keith Robinson.
Oh, we'll talk to him then.
So, let me have a word. What is it we want to know about the Gamsky Ferrari?
Well, what's the plan with who's in the car at the moment? I mean, I think you've answered part of the question by having your arm around Keith Robinson.
Exactly, because it means that John Gore must be out there.
And is he
John's out there. The car is going fantastic at the moment. We've just got to keep the pace up.
Yes, but could you tell us what the plan B is? Because sooner or later, your owner is going to say, well, perhaps I should have another play, and that means confronting the issue of the seat, doesn't it?
Well, I don't know.
whether it will go out again. If he decides to, it's his decision and it's his team.
So what you're really telling me, beautifully if I may say so, is that it looks like a tripartite arrangement for a long time to come, and that we're going to be seeing you swapping with John Gore and Phil Dryborough.
Yeah, at the moment we've got a problem with the seat, and it's going to be too hard to sort.
What, can you explain to me? I don't understand. Why have you got this problem with the seat?
Basically, the seat is on a runner to accommodate all the drivers, and we'd never had a problem all last year.